Happy full moon. So, leading up to this full moon, I have not been sleeping very much. As I may have mentioned a few times, this whole I want to post thing usually starts around midnight or something. And then there's uploading. And I increase the internet speed here, but it still takes an hour or more. But that's better than 3 hours or more, right? And there's posting photos and sometimes writing things depending on my mood. So I've been not sleeping very much because I wake up around 9 or 10, which is late for many people, but I wake up around 9 or 10 kind of irregardless of what time I go to sleep. Going to sleep around 1 or 2 or 3, my brain gets really spinning when I try to put together things, and then I look at the results of things. Anyway, maybe there's time to develop better, healthier habits. So in part of my preparation for, well, let's just say some of the circumstance right now is my sister is going away for a week to a music festival. She's very excited about this, as people are starting to go to things like that again. And it's funny, I just had this thought in my head, I should avoid her when she comes back, because I don't want to potentially give my mother COVID because she's not vaccinated. Oh yeah, COVID, that's this thing that's still happening. Anyway, my sister's going to be gone for a week, so she asked me to house sit for her dog sit at her house, and manage her plants. And she just thought it would be nice for me to have a break. And I love being with my parents, but it is nice to have a break. And I don't know how much of time at her house will be a break, because I'll be with her dogs, and dogs require a lot of attention, at least the way my psychology works. I was thinking about this tonight with the dog that's here. He really wanted to be pet, so I was petting him, and they're never done with being pet. You just be pet all the time. And I don't feel I get a lot back from pets. A lot of people have very intense relationships with their pets, and they couldn't imagine living without them. But I don't. I like animals a lot, and that's part of what today's talk is about. But yeah, I can't say that I like pets. And maybe that's another talk. Maybe I'll make a quick tangent that I trapped wild animals when I was young, turtles and frogs, and they tended to get sick and die because I didn't know how to take care of them. I didn't have the resources. I didn't know. Nobody supported me in finding the correct ways to take care of them, and they got sick and died. And the next pets I had after that were fish, and the next pets I had after that were like a snake and an iguana, and I would often leave their aquarium open, and they'd be gone for months. My mom's always been a cat person. My dad's somewhat a dog person, and my sister. And my brother was a dog person. My sister is definitely a dog person. My brother was a dog person when we were kids, but he doesn't like pets at all now. But in a very different way than me. I mean, I love animals. I don't like the idea of keeping something hostage for my emotional well-being. That's the way I look at it. That's all I'm saying. Not saying anybody else's choices are wrong. So anyway, this dog was just, requiring, I always feel dogs require a lot of attention, and if I ignore them, then it used to hurt me, but it no longer hurts me. I'm just like, you're going to whimper, and you're going to whine, and you're going to want my attention constantly, and you're going to keep nudging me, and that's annoying. And so I like to give myself space from the dog. So we'll see. Anyway, part of my idea of having this time to myself is not doing any massages while I'm down there. I thought that I was going to do some, but I don't think I'm going to do any. And fasting. I think that's another Mercury retrograde thing that happened. Even though Mercury retrograde has gone direct, in case anybody's curious, Mercury's gone direct, so it's no longer retrograde. But still, we're in the shadow. So, my mother introduced me to a type of fasting when I was in my 20s called the Master Cleanse, or commonly known as the lemonade fast, or the lemonade diet, maybe. The simplicity of it is that you're supposed to drink 12 glasses of lemonade, and the lemonade is made from fresh squeezed lemons, dark maple syrup, and cayenne pepper. And this recipe is meant to nourish the body with enough minerals, glucose, and I guess passable vitamins. And this guy who came up with it, I think like in the 50s. But he was one of those proponents, also there are many, not that I'm saying I agree with either, but one of those proponents who thought that you didn't need all that much protein to survive. I know that the mainstream idea of nutrition for most people is that you need a lot of protein to be healthy. As long as you're not breaking anything, as long as you're not building, muscle, if you're past your growth spurt stage, you can lower your caloric intake into maintenance stage, and you really don't need a lot of protein. Anyway, I used to do this fast for 2 weeks every year for about 6 years. And the last time I tried to do it was 2007 when I moved to New York City. I think I did it earlier in the year. I had never done it twice in 1 year, so that might have been one of the issues. But I had done it earlier in the year, Vermont, and it was cold. It's not fun to do a fast when it's cold. And then when I did it when I moved to New York, all of the smells became like hell because there were constantly people cooking. Every time I left the apartment, the smells of garbage, pollution, and cooking and food in restaurants were just overwhelming. Because one of the things that happens when you fast is all of your senses get really heightened. It's almost like a drug experience, which is one of the reasons I liked it. I thought it, certainly in my youth, I was interested in getting high, and I really liked the type of high fasting gave. But part of the philosophy of this recipe of the lemonade is that it is meant to nourish you so that you don't get depleted. They say water fasts are terrible because they deplete you. This is meant to not deplete you, but to not produce any mucus. Most of the foods we eat produce mucus. They're irritants, and they're delicious. But processed foods and sugars and dairy and all that's meat, it's producing mucus in the body. Your body has to protect itself, and it's getting irritated, inflammation, blah, blah, blah. So this is meant to not only not produce mucus, but to purge the mucus from your body. So I did this fast twice with big bear friends of mine, big chubby men. And it was only then that I realized that one of the things I love about bears, they got big chubby cheeks, and chubby faces. And a lot of that's inflammation, turns out. Because when they were doing this mucus cleanse, it just drained their faces. I was like, wow. It's not like you lose that much weight on this, especially over a 2-week period. You lose some, but not tons, but it totally drains the inflammation out of your face. It's not necessarily considered a good diet to do to lose weight in any long-term thing. You generally get your weight back really quickly when you finish it, if you eat the same way you did. But it's thought of as a time to let your digestion heal. And again, when your caloric intake lowers to maintenance mode, you get a chance to let things repair. There's science you can look into this, but like if you eat, I think it's the 2,000 calories a day is good for building muscle and keep, good healthy growing body. But you can lower that to, I don't know if it's like 600 or 1,100. I don't remember what the actual number was, but you can lower it to a certain amount where your body just goes into maintenance mode. And they say that you can live a lot longer if you live in maintenance mode because it's doing a lot less damage. And even down to a genetic level, the replication of the cells happens a lot less. So you're not getting as many telomere shortenings. One of the ways that I remember watching this in a science documentary is that all of our cells are like photocopies. They keep photocopying themselves, and every time they do, they get more distorted. Like if you remember the days of photocopying, where you could like photocopy something and then photocopy the photocopy you just made, and then and it would turn into this weird abstract image. That was one of the ways they described aging. That if you look at this like beautiful young 20-year-old and their features are all fine, and then you look at this beautiful 60-year-old and their features are all puffy, they're just kind of gradually going out of focus as their DNA telomeres shorten. Can't get the detail of reproduction of the vessel, the avatar. Anyway, I decided I was going to fast while I was down at my sister's. And it takes like, if you've ever done a fast, it takes like 3 days for it to not be suffering. Like usually the first day is like, oh, that's weird. And the second day, which I'm starting to get, you start to get like headachy and sore and tired and just weird. The third day is either that a lot worse or you're over it. But definitely by the fourth day, you're over it. Which is why I always feel bad when people tell me like, oh, I'm doing a 3-day fast. I'm like, that's nice. I mean, it does help, but that's just like the worst part of fasting. Basically, after you get past the third day, it's just great because you're not hungry anymore. Your digestion's kind of shut down, and as long as you're getting some nutrients and in like a form that needs very little digestion, like lemonade, you just have energy and a lot more time not cooking and shitting. But you are peeing a lot. Anyway, I've not been sleeping well. And 2 days ago, I just couldn't go to sleep. I just stayed up all fucking night until like 5:30. And when I woke up at like 9:30 or 10 or something, and I was like, well, that's not enough sleep. And I had a massage that day, and I did a whole bunch of stuff around the house. I don't remember what all it was. But I know when I'm super sleep deprived that if I eat a meal, then I crash. But if I just stay with liquids so I don't stress out my digestion system, because I think it's something like 50% of your blood or energy goes into digestion. And so that's another thing. If you're not putting energy into digestion, then you have a lot more energy in a very different way. So I just, my mom has lots of like protein powders and collagen powders and stuff like that. So I did those with some kombucha and some electrolytes and, and then I thought, wow, I guess if I'm already spending a day doing liquid food, I can just stay with liquid food, so it'll be easier to slide into the fasting. So I haven't started my lemonade yet, but this is my second day of liquid food, and I've had I think a collagen protein drink and a plant-based protein drink, because that's just what was here. It doesn't matter when you're having collagen, boiled animal parts, and again kombucha, and I made some, what's it called? It's not kvass. It's kind of like some people call it kvass. A root probiotic beverage, like a brine, last year from beets and turnips from the garden, and there was still some here. So it's very salty. So I dilute it in water. Like I pour like that much in a glass and fill the rest of it up with water. And I had one of those yesterday, and then I had one today with some maple syrup in it. And it was just like, wow, this is, and a touch of cayenne. So I was like, okay, this is starting us off. Here we go. But I need to go to Costco to get a huge bag of lemons. So I'll start that maybe tomorrow. But I'm going down to my sister's Sunday, and then I'll be alone at her house. She's leaving Monday morning. And I will maybe meditate a lot, maybe watch a lot of movies, maybe write a lot. I still got my birthday project, even though Mercury is direct. I don't know what I'll do. Walk around her little neighborhood, go for walks in the parks. I don't know. Hopefully, more interesting stuff to come. I would really love to get my transcription stuff finished. All of this long-winded blather of 15 minutes was to set up the mind state that I'm in right now, which I guess is a little ungrounded. Longer blather than usual. I noticed it 2 days ago. So sleep deprivation is itself like a drug. And I remember once somebody giving me some drug at some place in Tennessee that I was at some radical fairy gathering I was at. Somebody gave me something called ICB2 or something. I don't know, it was like an old chat app from the internet long ago. But I think it was also kind of like one of those modified designer drug Molly type things that's not actually MDMA. But what was so weird to me was that it felt like I felt when I'd stayed up all night. Because when I was a teenager, I used to love not going to sleep until it was really unhealthy for me. I got like anemic and it was terrible. But I thought sleeping was such a waste of time, which is why I loved that Arcade Fire song about not ever going to sleep. Sleeping is giving in, no matter what they tell you. Lift those heavy eyelids. Yeah, I would really try not to sleep, and I'd do this to try to stay awake. Lots of caffeine. Though I never got into speed in any kind of regularity. Anyway, this drug made me feel like I would feel when I didn't sleep for a day or two. This crazy slap happy, everything kind of hurt and was too bright and the sounds were too loud, but I wasn't tired. So anyway, I felt like that a couple days ago because I had many days of not enough sleep, and that day specifically, definitely not enough sleep. And one of the benefits of that is that everything is too loud and it's like a hangover, a weird feeling. But then there's also a lot of subtle feelings that you might not feel usually, but that become much louder. And many times during that day, was that yesterday? Yeah, we can also call it yesterday. Many times during yesterday and today, I would look at an animal. Mostly this happened with animals, our chickens, the dog, but also there's lots of birds and squirrels in the yard. And again, I was moving kind of slow from this tiredness. And I would just see them doing whatever they were doing. I would just see them doing whatever they were doing, the way they were running or walking or chirping, I don't know. And be filled with this beautiful, quiet, soft, sublime happiness. And it's suffusing me right now, just putting it to words and remembering it. There's lots of hard things about life. My mother's having a rheumatoid arthritis flare right now, so she's like whimpering and crying at the amount of pain she's in. She's suffering so terribly. Nothing we can do about it. She's taken some medication, some cannabis and CBD and other things, and it's just, every movement is just agonizing pain. Anyway, there's also a lot of beauty and pleasure in the world, and it's been so interesting to just look at a chicken being a chicken. I mean, Jorge Clar would know about the magic of this. He kind of lives in this state a lot of the time. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. But watching the dog just run across the yard. And I remember asking my dad once what made him happy. And that was one of the things he said, was watching the dogs working the field when he's bird hunting. This dog was just running through the yard, but still, there was a joy, because the dog situation here is he's not really allowed to free range of the house. We bring him in sometimes. but he's really annoying because he whimpers at the door. He wants to be out all the time, and then he wants to be back in, pets. And so he lives out in the barn in this kennel they made for him, which is very nice, but it's also like prison. It's like cement floor and cages, and I wouldn't want to live out there, but it's dog, so whatever. He lives out there, and that's his fate. It's better than the starving dogs by the side of the road in Sicily, right? Or Nicaragua, if you remember that story. But anyway, I let him out and just watching him run across the yard with this bounding dog energy. Watching the chickens just, whatever they're going about, but they're also like, oh, you're a human. Do you have food for me? Are you going to pet me? Yeah, it's been, and just watching the birds. I know I mentioned this before, sleeping outside. It's nice to see the birds at the bird feeders, but to sleep outside, when I wake up in my bed, I watch the birds like hop around from branch to branch and fiddle around on the ground. And I don't know, it's a totally different experience than seeing them on a bird feeder. But there's just this kind of life joy that has been so, what a gift to witness that. Very often when I'm massaging people, I'm generating a field of love, of you're beautiful, I love you, I want you to be well, may this massage benefit you, may any spirits that could help you work through me, kind of thing. I'm really tired. I want to go to sleep. It's midnight. You just heard the bell ring, right? Maybe. I don't know. But it's a different sensation than what I've been feeling towards these animals, I think. But it's similar in the almost every session I work on someone, and sometimes many times, and sometimes just once. When I work on people, I'll feel suffused with love for them. And I'll just like kiss their arm or their chest or their belly or something, like a little peck. But not even if I don't do that, I just feel this wave of love go through me, and it's just nice to like look at this person. I'm like, this is this person with this whole life and these desires and fears, and I have an opportunity to help them. And I increasingly feel like I'm not a healer, and not in the way that I'm like, I'm not going to fix your problems. But what I feel like my massage really does, what I aim for it to do, what I hope it does, what I imagine it does, is bring people a little bit more freedom. And maybe that's what I believe all my work does. Whatever work, maybe this, maybe anything that I can model a little bit of freedom, or say something that will just kind of make somebody be like, oh yeah, and give them a little bit more freedom. That's what I hope massage does. And it just feels good, this blessing of love and appreciation, gratitude, and graciousness. What's that other word? Of generosity. Generosity of spirit. Generosity of joy. There were a few things I was thinking about, talking about. I don't even know if it's what I've been talking about, but one of them was, I was talking with one of my friends about TikTok, because he sent me a TikTok video, and he's 74 and he does not have a TikTok account. But TikTok, one of its brilliant advertising schemes is that you can download the videos with no problem, and the person's name is like watermarked into the video. So when people start memeing them around and sharing them around the internet, or put them on YouTube or Facebook, the TikTok name is there, so you can see that it's from TikTok. So people send these things to me a lot. I get them through WhatsApp from people in India. I get them from Italy, and I get them from my friend in New York who does not have a TikTok account. And so I said, you should get a TikTok account. And I don't open TikTok every day. It's really not one of my, actually, most of the social media I haven't been opening regularly at all, except for the last 3 weeks, which I've been posting every day. So I have to look at them all every day. But I hadn't opened TikTok, and I usually open TikTok like once a month or once every 2 months. So I don't think I'd looked at it for a month, and I opened it today to show him, to download a couple random videos to show him some stuff. And it was nice. I saw some stuff I'd seen on Twitter, and being, I don't know which came first, the post on Twitter or the post on TikTok. Very clever. People being very clever and agonizing over humanity of politics and politics and politics and politics and politics. Your pal Austin. Shout out. Anyway, so I downloaded a couple videos and sent them to Tony, and I gave his name. How indiscreet of me. And then I thought, wow, I have never really posted anything on TikTok. Maybe I should post something on TikTok. Maybe during this birthday project, I should start posting things on TikTok, because I'm being crazy and posting things on Facebook and my webpage and Instagram and YouTube. So, hey, why not add TikTok? I don't have Snapchat, and I don't want to have Snapchat, and it's not my bag, but TikTok, I could. But I, as witnessed by this rambling at 26 minutes, I really don't think in 20 seconds or 60-second loop bursts. It's just like when Vine, if you guys remember Vine, that was a moment because a lot of people referenced it at me because I go by the name Dominic Vine online. I never got into Vine because I was just like, what was it, 5 seconds or 7 seconds? I don't remember what Vine was, but it was these little loops. And TikTok, I just feel like, is this grown-up Vine thing. And but one of the things I really love about TikTok is that there's a lot of creativity going on, much more than I see on Facebook. Instagram tends to be more stills and photos. Photos are great. And it's, selfies and food and coffee a lot of the time. And guys who work out, how good their biceps look. I'm not that body, so I can't do it very well. But I look at them sometimes. They're hot, right? It's fine. Bears. Muscle bears. Hey, muscle bears. And then Twitter. And I post on Twitter too, but I'm not really including that in my birthday project. That's just normal, the way I post on Twitter. Point I'm making about TikTok, I don't think in terms like that. And I felt an ego hook on, like, I don't know, self-shame about, like, I'm just not that creative. I don't know how to make music. You have to make music to be on TikTok. You need to like to dance. You need to want to mimic other people's dances. You need to have to, like, TikTok is like Meme World, where you're taking other people's ideas and playing off them. I'm going to do a duet with this guy. And you're like, you're just reposting his video with you making faces next to him doing his video. Why is that a duet? But that's what people call it. So whatever. I don't know. I have no idea how to create a TikTok video. Nor do I think it's my thing. I don't think I should be the one making TikTok videos. I feel like it's okay to dip my toes in once a month or once every 2 months and be a consumer. But it is amazing that when I do look at it, I get sucked in and like, a half hour. I mean, today it was like a half hour, just like boom. But I know I know the first time I set up the account, it was like 4 hours or something of just like, oh my God, what? Oh my, what? Yeah. This ties into that sublime happiness. That's why I was like, I don't want to slam social medias. That's not what I want to be talking about. But noticing that it was filling me with that self-shame of not being good enough or creative enough or cool enough, or famous enough, whatever. That's an old ego hook for me. And I know right after that, I walked outside and like saw a fucking squirrel running across the ground and chirping birds and just felt that. Turn it on. Learn to just conjure your emotions and feel good. And just feeling that beautiful, sublime, simple happiness. and and it just made me think of like that's why I left New York, was that I was constantly having this feeling that like, you know, I I didn't have the right friends or the right boyfriend, or I wasn't good enough for a boyfriend, or I wasn't good enough to be an artist or an actor or whatever. I love it. I mean, I also remember this today, that there was a guy that I met through my naked yoga group, and I think it was like the third or fourth time I met him, he admitted to me that he hated me because the man he loved me. And I had never met this man. This man followed me in all the different things I had posted online and thought I was an amazing artist. And this kid who was telling me that he hated me because his husband loved me, he was just like, man, I hated you because my husband loved you so much. And then when I came here and you were teaching yoga, I was like, oh, fuck, it's that guy. And I hated you. But I realized over these last few weeks that it was because I wanted to be you. I wanted my lover to love me that much. I wanted to be such an amazing artist like you. And I was like, there are people who think I'm an amazing artist. I've already succeeded. It's okay, Dominic. I love you. It's fine. And this is not, I mean, there's a lot of people who have called me an amazing artist, and I'm like, they're like, we really want to feature your work in this thing. And I'm like, what's my work? What are you talking about? Like, it's comments like that have helped me appreciate that just me being me is my work. And one of my friends who's very much an artist of making books and paintings and videos, and he's just like, Dominic, I think your art is just you being you. Liebe Kunst, life artist. It's fine. But even with that, like I had that, and I know I've heard Neil Gaiman talk about this and lots of others, which I think it's called imposter syndrome, where even when you get all the success in the world, you can still think like you don't deserve it, or someday somebody's just going to walk up to you and be like, you can't write any more books, you can't write at all, you're crap, you're not an artist, go get a job in a factory. You know, like everybody's got that little insecurity somewhere. But it is so nice to be free of that, to be able at least to appreciate how nice it is to work in the garden, to pick weeds and watch plants grow, turn soil. How nice it is to stay, like when I started doing the meditation retreats, man, you have to lock your phone up. They take your phone and put it in a safe, and then you're just trying to fucking be in the present moment all day. And I remember, I think it was the first retreat, definitely the second retreat, looking at the sky and being like, oh my God, I forgot how beautiful the sky is. I mean, I look at the sky all the time, but not really seeing it. You know, like you look at so much of what we do now when we carry around the phones in our pockets is we look at something beautiful and we're like, that's pretty. And then move on. Like we don't actually spend time just enjoying it. I'm one of those people. I take pictures all the time because I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. But it's definitely become a practice for me that if I'm taking a picture or video, that I just try to absorb the beauty of what it is that inspired me to stop and record it. But to have more moments of that appreciation of the beauty of life without the albatross, without the carotid, without the weight of some desired ego outcome. And yet I really admire people who are creative. Like a lot of times, even if I don't, I mean, there's a lot of creative people, I don't give a shit about their stuff. I'm just like, whatever. There's tons of creative people in the world. They're great. But there's a lot of creative people that even if I don't give a shit really about what they're creating, it's how they create it that's fascinating to me. And so much art is like that for me. Like the content, I don't give a fuck. And maybe even I mean, I would say the method is a lot of the times now more interesting to me than the content, and the practice is even more interesting to me. So when I think of the artists that I really admire that kind of are in my loose circle of friends in New York, it's the ones who just make work all day. That I just find really fascinating. I think like that kind of discipline, that kind of practice is something that is amazing to me. And I'm so glad to witness that. And I certainly hope that at some point in my life, I spend the majority of my time writing and editing. Editing photos, editing videos, editing, writing. I don't know if that'll ever happen because it hasn't happened yet, but anything can happen. But it's nice if it happens without the burden. God, who the hell was I talking to? Talking to somebody recently, and they're like, oh my God, you should write a book. Which I've heard like 1,000 times. I should write a book. I remember some psychic I talked to when I was leaving my apartment in Washington Heights and talked to 3 psychics to like check out what the fuck was going on. She was just like, what do you mean you haven't written a book? You're supposed to have written and published 3 books already. Your life is completely off track. And I was like, that is not what I need to fucking hear. It's exactly not what I need to fucking hear. You're supposed to have written 3 books already. When you write the books, then everything will spin up and everything will come into place. And I'm like, okay. I hope someday that I am that person who does that. And I know I talked a couple days ago about like manifesting the situation where I can teach. I realized that I could just make that happen. Except I've never known how to just make that happen. I mean, my life looks like a tremendous, no, it doesn't. I don't know. Who the fuck am I fooling? I don't know who the fuck I'm fooling. It's not about fooling people. Some people see something, some people see something else. Who am I to control what people see? But I do have great willpower. I've definitely had friends be like, Dominic, you are disciplined and you have great willpower. I can fast for 2 weeks. I haven't done it since 2007. I'm really excited to do it again. Take a break from all the stuff that I put in my body and just simplify. And for any of those who are worried that I said shut down my digestion, another part of the master cleanse, that you drink a quart of salt water to flush out your body like a full body enema every day or every few days. It's pretty intense. Simple, sublime beauty and happiness. Someday soon that now will come. All the times I imagine I will just do. That's what this birthday project's supposed to be about, doing those things that I mean to be doing. And I'm not editing all the writing that I imagined I would be editing. I'm making more blah, blogging, which I can do. Something I can do. Not really doing a lot of editing. But I'm still getting projects done. Over the last couple days, I made my massage oil blend. That takes hours. Blending different oils together that we have extracted, and then melting shea butter and beeswax and mixing those in the right ratios. And it's still a lot of work doing our little projects. picking all the snap peas today. And then the rains came. I don't think there's anything else I need to say right now. I'm just kind of thinking, checking, listening. I've thought about how this kind of video making varies from what I was doing in Mexico last year. And that when I was doing it on Facebook Live, it was nice to every once in a while just like look at the comments and start chatting with people as a way of seeing. But before I started recording this, I sat down and just settled, meditated for a little bit. And it's really good to listen to the silence and feelings. But this is enough for now. Grateful for the rain, grateful for the little chickens being happy, the dogs running, the rain dropping on the pond, the clouds, all the beautiful little drops of water and the pine needles today, the roses blossoming and dying, the bee balm, the smell of all the oils, the plants, the healing goodness, and the people that I've met and massaged, tried to bring some healing, love, companionship, human connection. Thank you. Love you.